Today I'll be repeating my opponent's claim that Kobe Bryant is the most influential player in history. He has 4 secondary claims. The first one is that Kobe has performed at a high level for 20 years now. His second secondary claim is Kobe claims some of the greatest records of all times. His third secondary claim is that Kobe is the most clutch player to play the game. And his fourth secondary claim is that Kobe is more influential than Jordan. In response to his first claim that Kobe has performed at a high level for 20 years now, he says that Jordan has only played for 14 NBA seasons, and he got that information from NBA.com. I also went on that website, and it actually said that he's been playing for 15 years, and Kobe has been playing for 20 years. And David Berry, who is a professor at Southern Utah University, wrote on Times.com that Michael Jordan has played 35,887 minutes and on average produced 204.8 wins. And Kobe has played 45,225 minutes and has only produced on average 138.7 wins, making him more efficient than Kobe. The opponent also states that Kobe has won 5 NBA championships in 20 years, but does not mention that Michael Jordan has 6 NBA championships in 15 years, making Jordan more progressive. I'm not really sure how this information is relevant to Kobe being influential. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, influential is the power to cause change or having influence. So I'm not sure how basketball statistics makes Kobe Bryant influential. His second claim is that Kobe claims some of the greatest records of all time. The opponent states Kobe scored 81 points in a single game, which is true, but it's not the greatest record of all time. LandoBasketball.com stated that Wilt Chamberlain is the NBA player that holds a record for the most points scored by a single player in a game, with 100 points against the New York Knicks in 1962. The opponent claims that Kobe has the top jersey sales, but when I went on the website BleacherReport.com, which is the same website that he used, it showed that LeBron James had the title for the most jersey sales. Once again, I'm not sure how the basketball and jersey statistics prove that Kobe is the most influential player in history. His third claim is that Kobe is the most clutch player in the game. He said in his speech that he may not have the highest number in clutches, but everyone knows Kobe is shooting the last shot and oftentimes cannot be stopped. But that contradicts his claim that Kobe is the most clutch player to play the game. According to BleacherReport.com, Kobe Bryant is actually 5th on the list of the most clutch shooting guards at 25%, with the most clutch shooting guard being James Harden at 58.3%. The opponent ends the claim with, "Finally, if you don't believe me, please take the time to browse YouTube for any videos of Kobe. There will be any 10 to 15-minute videos of virtually any highlight." You can find highlights of any NBA player, whether they're good or not. You can find them with high schoolers in college and so forth, and I'm not sure how that proves that he's the most clutch player or influential player. His fourth claim is that Kobe is more influential than Jordan. The opponent states that Kobe has played in a more competitive era than Jordan, but that's solely based on opinion. There's no studies or evidence or anything that supports that claim. The opponent also used the source LakeShowLive.com for statistics that Kobe has more career total points than Michael Jordan, but that page is the fan page for the Lakers, and it's completely biased. The LandoBasketball.com reported that Kobe was only ahead of Michael Jordan in career total points by 242 points, and that's possibly because Kobe has played 5 more years than Michael Jordan did. In conclusion, I think there's no doubt how talented Kobe Bryant is, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's influential. Like I said, influential means has the power to cause change, and NBA players such as Magic Johnson and Shaquille O'Neal have influential traits. ESPN reported that Shaquille O'Neal is actually a volunteer cop in southern Florida, and he does it to be a role model for children. And Magic Johnson, who's the face of HIV awareness and has his own foundation, he actually works with winning scientists in developing medication for HIV. So in conclusion, he didn't provide enough statistics for me to believe that Kobe Bryant is influential. Thank you.
All the structural stuff is easy to follow, and I thought you went through the individual points pretty effectively, looking at the evidence that the advocate presented, and often presenting effective counter evidence. I like the statistical analysis about the number of games won versus the number of points scored that the Southern Utah professor had. I thought that was an interesting approach to that particular point. The comparison between Jordan and Kobe, I think, is reasonable here, since that's basically the argument that the advocate presented. But on each of the points, you come back down to the same general issue here, and that is, how does it prove that he is influential? So one of the questions would be, I mean, you give a definition of influential, so who are the influential basketball players? Right at the end, you got a couple of examples here. That they're influential, but are they influential on the game of basketball? Is that the criteria that we should be looking at? Or are they influential in society in some way? Is that the criteria we should be looking at? Does Kobe meet either of those standards? Then that would be, the way that you could address that particular issue. And I think that you did an okay job kind of showing why that there are reasons that people might see the others as being more influential. I thought the statistical stuff puts Kobe in contrast to Jordan pretty effectively there. I like the fact that the 81 points is not all that much more significant. Wilt Chamberlain's got the 100 points game. I thought that was the thing that popped in my head immediately when I heard that example from the advocate in the first place. The clutch shooting thing, that's an interesting statistic. I don't know how they calculate that. I think we could use a little bit more explanation of that. But again, that's the criteria that the advocate used, and you've got a direct response on that point. So I thought that was pretty effective. And I like the last argument that you're presenting before the example of Magic Johnson and Shaquille O'Neal, if we're talking about the number of total points scored, Kobe's scored only 242 more points, and he had 5 extra years to do that in. I think, again, for that comparison, I think that's a pretty effective way to go. Not to be too dismissive, like I said. I think you had the right idea. Let me challenge the claims that they presented and explain why they aren't really relevant anyway. That's a good point. You guys go for another counterclaim too, and I'm not exactly sure Kobe's a good role model in any number of ways. Being an accused rapist is perhaps one of those things that might make us see him in a different light in this context. And how beloved he is by his teammates, that's another one of those things that he doesn't necessarily fit into those categories. So I think there's other ammunition that you left in the holster, and you could probably shoot it out a little bit more. All right, thank you.